All right. Good morning, everybody. Todd Ferguson here with Accelerators. All right. Good morning, everybody. Or good afternoon, depends on where you are watching from and what time. Todd Ferguson here with Accelerators Organization. And we're going to cover questions that our members have asked inside the portal. So, a little bit about myself. I live in Southwest Missouri, which is geographically almost smack dab in the middle of the United States. And we are in the e-commerce space. We are also in the warehousing and logistics space. So we run a company called Showcase Prep as well, which does e-commerce fulfillment. It does also direct-to-consumer fulfillment. And we warehouse products for individuals. We are also in the commercial real estate space, the self-storage space, residential real estate, and in the wholesaling business. So we're going to use all of those experiences and all the things that we have learned on our entrepreneurial journey to answer questions. And so as we go through these, if these answers don't make sense, you guys need more information, feel free to reach out and send me a message through Facebook Messenger, and we can connect and hopefully get these answered. So, all right, here we go. First question comes from Derek. Looks like he just joined as well. So Derek says, what do you do when you know you have to do something different than you are used to in order to grow? So what do you do when you know you have to do something different than you're used to in order to grow? So business description and background says, I've had a business for 10 plus years selling photographs online through eBay, but I am not growing. I struggle just a little in trying and implementing new things. What do you do to overcome the emotion of that? I'm going to do it, but just thought I would see how you manage change and growth. And so the first thing that really jumps out to me and that I would encourage you to do is when you talk about the emotion of overcoming change or doing something different or not reverting back to the habits or the things that you've done in the past, is to really, journaling, you can do that, you can make notes, but if you start to identify and write down your feelings and the things that you're experiencing with the way you're doing things now, whether that's frustration or whether that's anxiety or whether that's whatever it is, you start writing that down and looking back on that and thinking and reflecting on that, being like, man, I remember when this happened. I remember, that I struggled. I remember this, but it's hard for us to actually remember. But when we wrote it down and we write down the emotions that we're going through and our thoughts, and we can refer back to that and think, man, this sucked, or this was great, or whatever it is. But if you can use that as a catapult to initiate change and to make sure you don't feel that way ever again, or you prevent that same feeling, then that would be the first start. But the first thing is you identifying that you need to change. And so it's oftentimes it's a challenge when you're with people or you surround yourself with people that don't understand what you're going through. And that's the great thing about AO, is you're with like-minded individuals, you're with people that want to grow, you're with entrepreneurs, you're with business owners, you're with a different breed or different type of people than your normal circle is. And so when you can get outside of your normal circle, then those people challenge you and you can see what's possible. And you also realize that there are similar people going through the same thing as you, and you're not alone. But I would really, goal setting would be big for this, is really start to identify things that you want to accomplish, goals that you have, and then working backwards from that. One of the big things that we have done inside of our AO Squared group is really set out yearly goals and then start doing those for the quarter. You reverse engineer those to the quarter and to the month. And then there are certain things that you need to change, whether it's a health goal or a financial goal or a goal with your family. You identify things that you're currently not doing and you need to change. You can put those in your calendar. You can make a little to-do list. You can use motion. You can, whatever it works. But the reminders. So really start, identifying the feelings that you have now when you're frustrated or when you're doing the things you need to change. Identify those. Continue to get into AO, ask questions, get with like-minded people, and then put those things that you know you need, or set your goals, and then put those things that you know you need to change, put those up where you can see them just as reminders. For instance, maybe you need to stop procrastinating, or you need to make decisions quicker. I guess those would kind of be the same thing. But there's that. Also, you said implementing new things. Atomic Habits is a great book, and it talks about getting 1% better every day, and then also talks about habit stacking and how to create new habits. So that would be a good book for you. It's by, can't remember his name, but Atomic Habits is a great book. I think it's James Clear, possibly. So hopefully that helps Derek. Next question, I'm going to butcher this name, comes from Asia, I think is maybe how you say it. It says, how do you manage the transition from switching careers and maybe taking a step backwards in order to go forwards? So the business description and background of question says, I'm going to make a transition from my current career to another, and I know it will mean short-term less cash flow for me. What do you do to prepare financially and mentally to go through the process? Thanks. So the first thing is if you identify that you're going to be in a cash flow crunch, I would personally start to look at things that I can either cut out, or ways I can save, or ways to make extra income. Generally, when you try to just eliminate expenses or try to not do certain things, it doesn't always work out, and you don't get the same effect as if you can make more money, if you can increase your income, or find an additional source of revenue. And I know you said you're going to make less money in the short term, but I don't know when you're switching careers or when you're transitioning, but I would be looking at things like Uber or Rover or Uber Eats or DoorDash or anything like that I can do to make extra money that I can bank and save just in case. Also, if you're in a career, you probably have a certain skill set, hopefully, and whether that's marketing or whether that's sales or whatever it is, there are plenty of people that are looking for help in certain areas. So, you can call it a gig, you can call it a side job, you can do whatever, but there's even on Fiverr or Upwork, you can post stuff, post opportunities for people that need that kind of help. So that's the first thing that I would do, is really figure out how I can save as much money as possible, make extra income, and save that. But as far as the mental stuff, it depends on what your end goal is. And so if you are making a transition because you know it's going to better yourself, then mentally you just need to talk yourself through that. But if we're talking about an actual W-2 job versus being an entrepreneur, that's two different things. But switching careers, it depends on if you're also if it's in the same field or related field. But it's if you're switching if you are personally switching because it's a choice that you are making, then you just got to, there's reasons that you are doing that, whether it's, your time, or whether it's freedom, or whether it's opportunity for growth. And the same thing we talked about in the first question is if you have reminders of why you're doing this, it's easier as you go through it. And, the same thing, writing down your feelings and, why you're doing this and the reasoning behind it, so you can refer to that in the future when times get tough. That'll definitely help. But the big thing is learn how to make more money. Learn how, if you feel like you don't have any skills, sorry, I'm from Missouri and we say things different here, any skills, or you are unsure of how to make extra money, then you need to start building your skill set. You need to start learning some of those skills. And I know there's statistics, but if you spend roughly 1,000 hours on any one skill, you start to become an expert, or you start to be more knowledgeable in that area. You start to become the 1%, then the other, you start to be more knowledgeable than 99% so of the other people. So that would be something I would definitely look at. All right, next question comes from Allison. Allison says, how can I avoid analysis paralysis? Business description says, I'm a mental coach, and sometimes even I get analysis paralysis, and I know it can make me a little indecisive, which is hurting my growth. What can I do to break that cycle and make right decisions quicker? So again, the same thing is, if once you have recognized this and you know that you're doing it, it's just really putting things in place to help you make decisions quicker. And so whether that's, whenever you make your to-do list, or you put stuff in your calendar, putting a time frame on when you need to have that done. The one thing that really jumps out at me is you said, what can I do to break the cycle and make right decisions quicker? Well, unfortunately, we're never going to make right decisions all the time, but the sooner we can make a decision, we're going to know if it's right or wrong. And oftentimes belabor or be we delay, I guess, making those decisions in fear of being wrong. And so, really, there's tons of entrepreneurial books that talk about people that tried to make decisions as fast as they can, breaking things as fast as they can, so they know how to fix it and they know how to move on. And so, if you're worried about being wrong, that is probably one of the things that keeps you from making decisions, period. We're never going to always make the right decision, but we always, actually, if you think about it too, by you not making a decision, you've made a decision. And that is generally the wrong decision. So I would just encourage you to put a time frame on your task or your decisions that you need to be that need to be made. Keep yourself accountable, or find the partner to keep you accountable. And then just learn to make decisions quicker, like knowing that you're not always going to be right. It is hurting your growth. And so if generally when you are, or in the past, I guess when I've had paralysis because I didn't want to make a decision, it was because I was worried about what somebody thought of me or what the outcome would be, or long term, how it would make me look. And then when you make the decision and you do it, you realize that it's not a big deal. And even if you are wrong and it does make you look quote unquote bad in a season, most people are never going to remember that. I remember the first time that Sean said, raise your prices right now. Like, go home, send an email out to your customer and raise your prices. And I remember being like physically nervous before I hit the send button, worried about what people would think and worried about would I lose customers. And I kid you not a single person complained out of about 40 different customers. We raised our prices by 8 or 10%. I don't remember. And so I could have just, let that take its toll on me and be like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I should do this. But the other part of this would be, I talked about getting somebody to hold you accountable. When you get a coach or a mentor and they encourage you or tell you to do certain things, most of the time they are right. And most of the time it aligns with what your business needs. And that's why you're paying that person. And so when you get somebody that can point you in the right direction, give you a little bit of a push and tell you to go do it, then it generally ends up pretty well. So, all right. Next question comes from Tierra. Tierra says, what are some ways I can continue to position myself as an expert in order to grow my new business? So business description and background says, I'm a fitness coach and I have also been doing some digital marketing to make some extra money, but I really want to be that expert fitness coach that helps clients and then also wants to build a strong brand. What are ideas that you have that could help me position myself as an expert? So this would be where you do your market research, Tierra, and identifying your avatar. And your avatar is what your ideal customer is, but then seeing where those people go. And so when you talk about fitness coaches or coaches in general, who do you look up to? Like, how did you get to know them? What do you like about their brand? How have they positioned themselves to be an expert? And as we talked about earlier too, generally once you get 1,000 hours under your belt, you know more than roughly 90% of the people that are in that space. Now that doesn't mean you're an expert, but the thing is getting your brand known. Client testimonies are going to be huge. So it's hard to be viewed as an expert when you don't have anybody backing up your work. When you don't have, if it's just friends and family, then it's kind of tough. But when you have people that say, I love what you did, I would love to tell people about you, then you start to grow your expert brand. You're also probably in a really tough area as far as trying to break in and become an expert. There are plenty of fitness gurus or experts out there, but it's really finding your niche as well. Figuring out whether it's women at a certain age range that have a family. Like, there's certain niches that you can become an expert in and really narrow down and identify who your ideal customer is and what they are looking for. And then it's really just figuring out ways to connect with them. But really it's the other part too is if you listen to like Gary Vee and talking about how many times a day, somebody should post on social media and get your content out there. It's having a plan, having somebody you work with that holds you accountable again, but then shows you and says, this is how you're going to gain traction. And so just because you're widely known doesn't mean that people like, know, and trust you. And so that's where you got to figure out, how do I get people to like me and know me on a personal level? And then how do I get them to trust me? And that's once you do that, then people start giving you money. Then you can start building yourself as an expert. All right. Next question comes from Ricardo. Ricardo asks, how do I balance building my barbershop empire while also becoming a coach to individuals trying to find success? Business description and background of question says, I've been growing slowly in my barber business and now have to completely reset in order to create a recruiting arm, a barber school, in order to grow barbers and locations. But I love success coaching as well. How do I balance that time? I've grown a lot personally, but that business has not grown much. I want the business to grow so I can continue elevating myself to a place where I can keep coaching others on success. So the things that really jump out at me is you talk about balancing building a business empire or a barbershop empire. And whenever I think personally of the word empire, the word balance does not even come into play. And so if you're really truly wanting to build an empire, let's just say I wanted to build a warehousing empire. How do I do that? Like, I'm all in on one thing until I get it to exactly where it needs to go, so it's self-sustaining. And so one of the things that really hindered me at the very beginning of my career is I had heard, and there's stats out there that, the average millionaire has 10 or 11 different revenue streams or income streams. And I thought that I needed that. And so as I started to do that, I had a main business, which was our e-commerce business, but I did not have that set up to where it could run by itself. I did not have that set up to where I had systems and people in place that could take care of things. And so when I took my foot off the gas and I put my energy and my focus on something else, then that business suffered. And then I was kind of working behind the eight ball again. So I would take my time and energy and I would focus it on something else that I really thought I wanted to grow and I needed, but I didn't have my main business pumping on all cylinders is what you'd say. And therefore my main business started to decline because my focus wasn't there. I didn't have the people and the processes in place. And so it took me several times of doing that over and over to learn that that's not the way to do it, for me personally. And are there ways to grow multiple businesses at the same time? Absolutely. But what you talk about here is, you had to basically do a reset and redo things. And so I would just encourage you to have a plan, whether that's a 1-year plan or a 2-year plan or a 5-year plan, and to where you're getting your barbershop, if that's what you want to do, the empire, to where it is self-sustaining. It doesn't need you there actively. You have a team, you have managers, you have customers that, on automation that you getting them in your store. You have that, and then you can work on other things. You can also do one thing too, is just because you want to be a success coach or success coach is what you have it, is that can be done without pay. Like we just talked about being an expert, and oftentimes you or a person learning how to coach and how to help others, that takes time, and it's very challenging, I have found anyway, to be any type of coach or mentor when the businesses that I run are not where they need to be. It's tough for me to coach and help people when I know that I have problems in my own business. And are we always going to have problems and challenges in our business? Absolutely. But we need to get that as squared away as possible. And so I just really encourage you to take a look at what is important and what you really want your main thing to be. But if you are struggling with, and if your barbershop is where you get your income from, if you're struggling with that, I'd really just encourage you to focus on that. Continue to help people on the side. There's plenty of ways to help people without getting paid and without doing all that. Just giving back. There's tons of different ways to do it with your Chamber of Commerce or the Rotary Club or just in your local town and learn that way. So hopefully that helps, Ricardo. If not, just give me a shout. All right, last question comes from Dennis. Dennis says, how do I create more of a reoccurring revenue model in my business in order to grow, or how can I produce higher ticket sales? Business description and background says, I'm a computer service and repair company. for Windows PCs. I've been in business for well over 10 years, but still under 200,000 in annual sales. I'm making money, but I want to grow. My clients are both business and personal clients. I just need to find a way to grow. Should I find new types of clients, higher paying clients? How do I create this need and put a plan together? All right, so a lot to unpack here. There's two different things. You talk about, a reoccurring model, or a subscription-based model, or higher ticket sales. And so, those would be two different things to me. And you also talk about having business and personal clients. When you're talking about, and this is just me speaking from a business owner, when you're talking about, increasing your prices or finding higher paying clients, I have found that other business owners usually are better customers or will pay more. If you think about us here and I don't know what all you do as far as your PCs, but we have, I can't even count them. We probably have 25 or 30 computers here that are PCs. If somebody came to me and said, this is what we do, we come in every quarter, here's the benefits, we're going to make your computers run faster, we're going to search for malware, we're going to do all this, and here's what it is, I'm probably going to do it. And so that would be a way to potentially create a recurring business model. But really look at where your income comes from now. So out of that $200,000 sales, is it, what percentage business, what percentage personal? How much time are you spending at each place? Do you charge by the hour? Do you charge by the job? And really start charting that out and looking at your numbers. And once we start charting stuff like that out, then we can identify places to either increase our prices, which we talked about earlier. Just increasing prices by 8 to 10% every year is kind of expected. You can figure out either add-ons or maybe other ways to create sales. But for me, so for instance, we have storage customers here, meaning people store products with them and we charge them by the cubic foot. And so I really thought that I knew what my ideal storage customer was. So, people ship us truckloads of products, toys, or health and beauty items. And I really thought that the people that stored the products with us longer, that was our ideal customer. But when I started charting this out and identifying the different types of customers, and I did this with the help of Sean at an event, we figured out that actually people that turn product faster actually make us more money. And so just by putting that information down on a spreadsheet or on a whiteboard and drawing it out, really helped us out. So I'm not really in the sales lane as far as, what's better to do, the reoccurring or the higher ticket prices. I think really it's just breaking down as granular as you can where your income is coming from, looking for opportunities. And then when you start finding that, coming back with more specific questions. So hopefully that helps. All right, guys, that's all we got today. Again, if that didn't make sense, if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out via Facebook Messenger. You can also post it below this video inside of AO, and we will talk to everybody later. Thanks for your time.